start recording right now. Like, I'm currently recording, which it's all good. We're doing great, doing awesome, doing fantastic, if you will. I've got everything pulled up now. We ready to
Screen's like freaking out in your glasses.
Is it? God damn it, dude. Oh fuck. Okay, you ready to kick some balls? Kick some grundle? Little grundle kicker.
I'll let you kick it off.
Sure, I can do it if you want me to. I'm down for it. And you know how to throw shit back. Okay, yeah, we got that shit. All right. Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome back to the Moon Peak Podcast. Let's go. We're finally freaking back, dude. It's been a little bit of a hiatus for us between, busy lives.
Yeah.
And moving and shit coming up soon.
We're all adults. We have, our normal jobs, our 9 to 5s or whatever time you work. And then
all the time
get home just fucking exhausted. And you're like, I don't want to stream. I don't want to do anything. So I took a hiatus. I haven't been streaming. I know Jay's been streaming a little bit more, trying to keep up with his schedule. And
I tell you, man, I am super tired all of the time. But that doesn't mean I can't put out content, though. Like, we always get stuck with that whole feeling of, if I can't put the time into it that I want to, I shouldn't do it. But also, like, dude, that holds you back from doing so much crap, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, content creation is unique to everybody, and what we might find, fun and interesting might be different from you guys. And I don't know. Everyone likes to stay in their little box in their bubble because they want to create a business out of it. But at the same token, it's supposed to be fun. And if it's not fun, then I don't see the point of doing it.
It's the reason I'm doing what my... Never mind. I'm not going to go ahead and go into that. I'm glad to be back into this podcast. This one's a lot more my speed. Got a lot more oomph to it, And no offense to the people I worked with before by any means, because we had a great thing going with the Digital Strokes Premiere folks. Loved it. Great time for 2 years. But now it's time to... I've told myself this is the year that I'm really putting myself into what I want to do, not what everyone else wants to do, what I've already got going. It's what I want. And who better to do it with than Alt? Like, come the fuck on, man. Come on.
I mean, Moon Peak, the podcast kind of started just with us talking about video games and like the context and the environment and just the community as a whole. It didn't,
yeah.
You were streaming one day and it just turned into this. It wasn't anything we were trying to do.
And I think that's one of the dopest things, the fact that we can actively kind of just sit here and have conversations because we have been playing games and been in like legitimately around the industry for so long. And the fact that we can bring all of that knowledge into, the Moon Peak podcast and kind of not focus so hard on like, oh, these are the games that's coming out. And it's not like we have remember G4? We're not having like an X-Play,
yeah,
right?
No.
We're not having all these fucking trailers and stuff that are coming about. We're here to talk about dope things that we're really getting into and kind of highlight some of the things that are about to come out and even touch on some like harsher topics with like online games and like multiplayer player mental stability, because it's hard out there for everybody right now.
Knowing games and their value and the devs not, I think, treating their communities well enough because they feel like they're punching above their pay grade, I guess, so to say. Like, I get that you pour your mind and soul into something, right? Like, and you're slaving 13, 14-hour days. We do it at our jobs sometimes, but like to justify it or to say things that, like Ubisoft, for example, this week came out with one saying, this is the first quadruple A title A game with Skull and Bones. And that's why you should pay $70 for this game. And it's an unpolished, unfinished
pile of dung,
and it looks worse than some of the games out on the market right now. And you're trying to justify something. It's still a good game. We're not saying it's a bad game. It's just that you need to know your market and hit that margin, not try to punch above it. But these guys have board members to report to, so we got to remember that.
But at the same time, EA does the same thing. Like, if they would have just released it and not said anything about it's a quadruple A title, EA's been charging us $70 for games for the last 2 years. We're not gonna think anything.
Yeah, but they're not throwing it in the face with that narcissism and like entitlement. Exactly. Ubisoft has been doing that for the last, I would say, 7 years, because the big one that hits home for me is For Honor. Oof, that game alone.
Still love it.
And Ubisoft was on a trend with that. And I'm like, you guys need to really stay in your lane. Just like you guys need to be more comfortable not owning your games.
Yeah.
You can't ask me to spend almost $100 on a video game because it's over $100 with all the extra content.
Yeah.
And then to tell me that I need to be okay with giving you money, but you're not giving me the rights to the game.
You're not giving me content nor rights. Like, well, how can I be happy? You know what I mean? See, see this right here. This is what I'm talking about. You're going to get all of this and more from now on. Okay. So get used to it. All right. Cause I actively was looking at the script and I was like, oh, what, wait. But then I was drawn into it. And I'm also quite mad at Ubisoft about that whole thing about the Skull and Bones. I've got a lot of gripes with Skull and Bones.
I'm not mad because I don't support them. Like, I just know that if it's a game made by Ubisoft, unless it's free or it's punching at its pay grade for what I'm going to pay for it, I don't pay for it. It's not worth me spending the money to get pissed off over a $70 game. It's just not.
Yeah, and you're not going to get most AAA games. You're not going to get 70 hours of. You're just really not. Especially if it's.
The last one would have been Boulder's Gate, and nothing's going to come touching. Nothing's going to touch that in a long time. So,
I'm with you on that one. And for the idea for Moon Peak, before I get too caught up, and we end up doing another 3-hour episode. How long have you been playing games? Like, what's really kept you around, bud?
So I think I started playing video games when I was like 6 or 7, because my parents, we grew up in a military house, so we couldn't afford video games.
Let's go, military household.
Yeah, and so like when we got our first Nintendo, like me and my dad used to play F-Zero and Mario. And then it kind of developed from there. And there was like a small hiatus, like, because we moved across the country. So like a lot of stuff didn't transfer. And like my parents didn't have a whole lot of money. So like I would say I got back into video games around 12 or 13 when I started mowing lawns and shoveling snow when I could afford it. And then I ended up like I don't know if you remember the craze where people would trade in their games when GameStop was really big with that. Sure. And like I would trade in my old console and then save up some more money and get the new console. And then I got a PlayStation and then a PlayStation 2. And I wasn't really an Xbox person until Halo. So I would say little over 3/4 of my life, I've been playing video games as a hobby. And I would say the last 6 years, an amateur professional gamer streamer. So,
I feel that.
I mean,
it's always hard to draw that line between it. Because I'm kind of in the same like point or like in the same vein of that because my dad was Marine Army. We moved a lot when I was growing up, and my first one was a Super Nintendo, and I remember playing Donkey Kong on that religiously. You know what I mean? And
I don't think I ever played Donkey Kong.
Really? Like the old school, you jumping up, going up the ladder and everything, dude. Oh,
nah,
dude, that was like my first one. And then at the same time, I was at home a lot. I have 5 brothers technically, but I've lived with 3 of them. And at a certain point, it was really just me by myself, and me playing games was a way to kind of distract myself from like being alone for so long because both of my parents worked, all of my brothers had jobs and everything because we also didn't have that much money, so everybody was working to keep things moving. And the games was one of the things that kept me focused, and it was also one of the things my parents bribed me with, like. You can't, if you don't do this, you can't go play games. You know what I mean? And so even now, I kind of do the same thing where I won't go buy a game if I have other things to do, and which isn't a bad thing by any means, but it also keeps it in check for me. I do the opposite. Yeah,
I do the opposite. So like, I wouldn't, and it's not. So it stops me from doing things. It stops me from spending money. If I know I can spend $15 and it's going to soak up 2 weeks of my time, because like. I moved out at 17, so I didn't have a whole lot of money, and I knew that if I went out, I was going to eat, and I was going to do all these other things, a normal young 20-year-old's going to do. Valid. So if I play video games, like I would go like 14, like really unhealthy to go this many hours without eating. But those that know the struggle know the struggle. So I don't. You guys will understand. But that's what I did when I was in my young adult was. I chose gaming over life functions other than working because I couldn't afford like food and basic necessities.
Dude, that's way too real, bro. I swear to God. That's it got me out of doing a lot of stuff. Like I grew up in like I spent my adolescence and like later years when I went to college in St. Louis. And for anybody who knows anything about St. Louis, it's not particularly the most, the safest or one of the most welcoming cities by any means. But also at the same time, I had spent so much time there that I knew so many people that it was really easy to get caught up in things that I really shouldn't have been caught in. And so I spent most of my time, once I realized that it was just more counterproductive to just go out and go drink and do drugs. 'Cause, hey, update. Don't go out and overdrink and, you know, don't overuse drugs by any means. But you end up using so much more money to do that rather than having a hobby that you can go home to and safely, you know, relax and get away from
and
the
wrap
road.
your head around it. Like, it just, I wouldn't even say it's less lucrative. I would say more or less it's more healthy because you're enjoying what you're doing and it's soaking up your time. So like you are doing something someone may look at it and be like, this is not productive. Why are you doing it? But it's productive to you because it's something for your mental health, which I think a lot of us anymore struggle with, especially since COVID and we all got locked down in our house and went nuts.
You know, and most of us are still there, dude. And so after jumping around and figuring out games is what I wanted to do, I legitimately I started streaming in 2014. I think that was my first like stream when I was streaming off my Xbox playing Cube. I was like, I'm gonna make it as a puzzle streamer, dude. All these puzzle games, everybody's gonna be like, oh my god, he's so good at puzzle games. Update. The puzzle games didn't work out.
It didn't pan out. Okay, good to know.
Yeah, right. But it did get me back in love with playing games because all of us have that stand up being like, I actually don't like playing games right now. And it brought me back to actually wanting to play games and also making games. So I started streaming again in 2014. I went to college again to start making games. And now I'm a part-time streamer. Part-time's a good way to put it. I'm not putting in 40 hours.
You do it as a hobby. You're not doing it as a business. You're doing it as a hobby, which I think, in my opinion, is what a lot of streamers are. And they confuse that with Twitch and they get really frustrated with Twitch because they're like, they focus on the money. They're like, oh, they take so much money. But if you're doing it because it's a hobby for you, you shouldn't be worried about the side hustle you're trying to receive from it. I get that you might need that money, but you're not, if you want the money, you have to run it like a business. You're aiming here, but you want this. You got to aim higher if you want this, and you got to start treating it as such. And if you're not treating it as such, you're not putting the time and effort into your content, you're making yourself entertaining, because it's not just about playing a video game when you're on stream. It's entertaining and you're constantly on, and it's
socially exhausting, dude. Oh my God.
You're just turned on, like you're that little light switch and it's on for 4 to 5 hours. And and then you have to decompress, and then you have to go to bed, or you have to eat and do your normal human being stuff, and then go to work in the morning. It's a lot.
It's a lot, dude.
It's a lot.
How long were when you were back streaming? How long were your days? Because I know you work an 8-hour job, and then you stream for like 2 or 3 hours, right?
So my day was like anywhere, like in the summer months, in the spring and fall, summer, and that was anywhere between. It was an hour drive to get in and an hour drive home. So it would be an 8.5-hour day plus a 2-hour drive. Then I'd get home, set up my stream, and I would stream I was streaming for 3 hours when I first started. Yeah. And then I backed down to 2 hours. And then after my 2 hours was up, I would eat and sit at my computer and make clips and do video editing to learn how to do that. And then around 10 o'clock, I would go to bed. And my husband was very, supportive of it, but I was neglecting my duties as a person in a relationship. Yeah. For money is basically that. And I know I'm not where I'm at, where I was at 21 years old. Yeah. I can afford to not have that side hustle. Right. So I take it upon myself for those that do stream and they're like, hey, can you help me with video editing? If it's like a small clip, I just do it for them. I don't charge people for it because it's a friend that's asking me. Now, if a random stranger off the internet just like, hey, can you edit all my videos for free? Yeah. So like, I think if you're counting the whole day as a whole, it'd probably be like 17 hours worth of work, and then maybe 6 hours of sleep, and then just do it over again. And I was streaming. I don't know if you didn't know me when I was first started streaming, but I was streaming 5 days a week. Yeah, no, dude, I could. It was a lot, dude. It was a lot, but I was trying to make it a full-time thing outside of work. And then I realized that that's not, it's just not feasibly possible. Yeah. And then I went to part-time, and then I was just like, this is a lot of work, and I just enjoyed. I made the community that I'm in, and you have your community, and the whole purpose of me to stream, and was my goal when I went into it, was I want to make a community that I can go game with, or hit someone up on Discord or whatever, because I went from Xbox to PC, and all of my friends are on PC, like my IRL friends.
Yeah.
To PC, and I don't have anybody. So I'm like, I want to build a community that we can kind of network in and have those people that have different tastes in games and flip flop back and forth. And that's why my Discord name is Food Network, because everyone food brings people together and we're all here to network and game. So like, that's why I named it the Food Network. There's no like hidden message about food in there. Granted, we all are,
all y'all do
foodies,
cook. So,
but, yeah.
God dang, dude. I don't think I have that deep of a thing at this point. If I'm being honest with you about it, I did start this to legitimately just talk to people. I got really serious about it during COVID, where I was like, I'm going to treat this like I have another job, otherwise I won't do it, and I won't put in the effort, because I'm really fickle, like really quick to be like, this isn't even worth it. That's a thin line though, because I noticed with you when you were doing that, you were less around, and you could see it on your face, you weren't enjoying the games you were playing, because you were treating it as a job. And I was exhausted. And granted, I have like 5 jobs, so at a certain point, my time window gets smaller and smaller.
Just shove it out the door.
Between photography, social media work, streaming, working my actual job, I think those are the only 4 I'm thinking of right now. I don't have any commissions right now, so I only have 4 right now. But with the time of keeping up with different clients and having meetings and still trying to be social and have friends and stuff, the social battery is like null and void after a certain point.
It's gone.
And since I took a step back, I took an entire month off, which was probably the most healthy thing I've ever done in my life. Did it make me take a step back? Yeah, but also at the same time, that step back also showed me that everything I built up won't crumble if I need to take time for myself. And that's something that a lot of people should realize, is if you've worked hard to make something, it isn't just going to crumble overnight. It just isn't. You know, take your time, breathe, and take care of yourself first, so you can go from there. You know what I mean?
I think a lot of people went to Twitch when COVID happened, and I think there was a big boom of streamers. And the problem I have with that, it's a great thing to have this outlet, but the problem I have with it is you're saturating a market with mediocrity. And that's it. And that's what happened. And everyone's like, I'm a streamer. I'm like, you're not though. Like, all you do is stream. Like, no offense to anybody that plays Fortnite. I play Fortnite. I'm like, unless you're a god tier for Apex or Call of Duty, or you're making funny clips and hot micing. If you're not making content, the stream is going to be boring. So I don't know. The market got so saturated around COVID, it was very hard for people that were actually making content to do anything with it and move it in a forward direction. So Twitch buckled down on partners and things like that. So it's hard to move forward.
It's still really hard to move forward. And a lot of my friends that had started streaming on Twitch and everything have made their way to other different, streaming sites because of the fact it is so difficult. But at the same time, it comes back to the whole idea of, and I'm going to tie this back into the Moon Peak podcast, not doing it for a job, but doing it for the enjoyment of what you're doing. I stream now because it's fun. I stream Souls-like games because I like to die and get clapped.
Get so frustrated.
get frustrated. I like to get frustrated because after us playing games for like 20 years at this point, games are easy. Games don't get more difficult as they've gotten easier as time has gone on. So at this point, if you're not playing a multiplayer game, I'm probably going to be bored if I'm not playing on the hardest difficulty. But that's kind of the reason that we came back to doing the Moon Peak podcast, because my other podcast, it felt like work to me and I didn't want to do it. And I wanted to put myself into something where I wouldn't be ashamed, or I wouldn't, what's what I'm looking for? I wouldn't feel compelled to force myself to do it. Yeah, like obligated to do it. And this is just so nice for us, to be honest with you.
And it's something like, and the funny thing is like my summer months, I'm usually away from my computer. So like when I was streaming, I would stream less. And in the winter months, I would stream more because all I would do is snowboard and work.
Yeah.
But like, and that was kind of the reason why when we started talking about this, I noticed there was a draw with both of us, like our communication, and like it was really good, and like we noticed it could go further than that, and I think that's why both of us, I wouldn't say have the authority or knowledge on the subject, but we have life experiences because we've been doing it since the beginning. I wouldn't say the beginning because we weren't
beginning
alive
of
with modern games.
Yeah,
like we grew up with it, and I know that my parents were like, "You'll never make a living off this. You'll never do this." And then my parents saw my paycheck from Twitch, and they're like, "How did you make this in like a month?" And I'm like, "I do this as a hobby, and it's just a byproduct of what I'm doing because I love to do it." And I don't know how you feel. You like single player games though. So
love single player games.
You're more of an authority figure on single player games. I would say multiplayer is mine because I have an unbiased opinion when it comes to games. I don't look at the GPU and it's not rendering correctly and it's not upscaled to my video card. No, I'm looking at the game as a whole, as a creative market when I'm looking at it, and how much fun could I have with this game, and is it worth the dollar amount I'm getting out of it?
And you told me about that. To be honest with you, now I definitely go, if I can get 30 hours out of a 60-hour game, $2 an hour, I'm okay with that. But if I get way more than
you wouldn't spend somewhere else.
Exactly. And time I got to actually enjoy myself and learn about something. And that's more than what you would get if you go out and go spend $30 on a meal for yourself at a mediocre restaurant. That's you had a meal, you ate, but also at the same time, that was an hour. You basically spent $30 for what? An hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yep.
And then you go back and be like, well, I'm not going to do that again. In a lot of cases, you don't have that situation with games unless you're buying a bunch of indie games and giving them a shot. But you should have more discerning palate about things like that. But I digress. At a certain point, you have to realize like you're putting your money into yourself. Like you're putting a dollar amount on your time. And it also makes it easier for you to buy things, which I don't know if that's good or bad, but it feels great for me.
I mean, there's two things in life, right? Like they don't ever change: time and money. If you have more time, you have less money. Yeah. If you have more money, you usually have less time. Like it's a balancing act, but we're not part of that. What is it? The 4% of like the world that we can just never work because our money works for us. But the point is that those are two balancing scales that don't ever change. So that's the way I've always looked at life, because as you know, like when you grow up a little poorer, you don't look at money the same. And then when you have more money, you kind of are humbled by it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't know. Like the two games that have sucked the time and life out of me, like in the last month, would be Power World and right now Enshrouded. I paid $20 for a game and then another $20 for another game. And I already have I have 200 and something hours in Power World in the last 3 weeks.
I don't know how I actively don't understand how you end up having so many hours in like 2 weeks.
Because I just sit there and play. I don't have anybody to hang out with here other than my husband, and he's playing it. So I'm like, it just sucks the time away. And then I got a new Enshrouded, and it hits all the buttons of Dark Souls, the random like mechanic of harvesting and building, and it's just
survival sandboxes for you really to be scratching that itch for you.
Which is weird because it doesn't. Those are not my forte. Like I do not enjoy these games normally, and I'm enjoying the hell out of it. But that's $40. And I've sank almost 250 hours into 2 games. Like, that's a lot of money and time. I could have been like sitting on the couch. Let's go out and do something. Let's go out and drink. I'm like, those are $100 bills that we're talking about when we go out. Like, it's not like a $20 meal. It's when we're going out and drink. An average drink right now is $12 to $13.
House cocktails are $12-13.
So like that just goes through the roof. When I'm just going to sit at home, I can make some food downstairs. It'll be what I want, and then drink something, and I'll be completely fine. And I get to still play the game.
Or drink a lot, you know?
I mean, that was the other night.
It sure was the other night. By the way, I healed comfortably. I decided not to sleep.
I didn't get to bed until like 2 a.m. and I was like, I was afraid to lay down.
I felt it, and I was like, I closed my eyes like right after we ended stream, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna be up for a couple hours. and I completely agree with you about the spending the quality of games and the amount you have to spend on them is going down, because there's a lot of good games that have come out in the last 10 years and even within the last year that are not $60 AAA games. So you can just go spend $20-$30 and be satiated for legitimately like hundreds of hours. You know what I mean? Like, that were the games. And
sometimes they're better than AAA titles, in my opinion.
For sure. I have gotten some real doozies from AAAs and been real slighted by some AAA titles. I will be the first to admit I picked up some lemons last year, you know? But at the same time, I've gotten into this niche feeling of, if people say a game is bad, I will go get it.
Why?
I'll go get it. I'll go get it. Mostly because I want to see if it's really bad, or if is it just everyone riding a hype train and getting off on getting on.
It's like, I call it the Nickelback theory. That's what I refer to that as.
Oh, for sure. That's valid.
Because Nickelback's not a bad band.
No.
And I don't even know how that whole rumor got started. But the point is, it's like people get on this bandwagon on Twitter and they get so powerful behind their keyboard because they feel like they're riding a movement. I'm like, it's a fucking video game. It's
fucking Nickelback, dude. We all just want to be big rock stars living on. I fucking love that song, dude. I'm sorry. And that's the reason I bought shit like, you know, Redfall, and I'm playing Lords of the Fallen right now. And it's just like, fuck, dude. These games aren't bad. Well, Redfall's going to be a lot better.
Yeah, I would say
it'll be better once it releases on PlayStation and through Xbox Game Pass when they finish doing their whole thing.
I don't know, but I will agree to disagree. It'll be better as a co-op game. Same way I feel about Lords of the Fallen. Games that are normally really bad, like really awfully received, probably are supposed to be co-op games. And granted, Redfall is definitely supposed to be a co-op game, but they forgot to put in dedicated matchmaking. But that's not the point. We're yeah.
Had they done that, it would have been great. And Lords of the Fallen, people gave that game so much shit.
They shit all over that game. Granted, there are some performance issues.
Can't confirm.
I'm having them personally, but if it decides to run, it crashed twice the other night, and then after that it ran flawlessly.
Yep.
I have no idea why. I'm running a 7600 RX card in my PC, 64 gigs of RAM, and I have like a Ryzen 7?
Yeah.
I don't know, the 8-core. I'm like, there's no reason why this should not be running it. It's something with the game. It's not the files. And so, I mean, I can deal with the crashing if it's not consistent.
It was consistent that one time.
It was. But once we got past it, it's fine. It's like that little bit of growing pains. It's the games that have like really bad bugs. Like if Palworld wasn't everything that every grown ass child in their adulthood, then we're grown children, by the way.
Yeah.
Wanted out of a Pokemon game, I would not be playing it. But that's what we wanted, and we've wanted for years, and that's why I sank the time into. Do I think I'll go back to it? I'm probably going to let my server die, and then when everyone stops playing it, I'm just going to shut it down. But it was fun. I got 200 hours out of a $30 game.
That's true, and I didn't pay any money for it. Shouts at the Game Pass.
But it was buggy as hell. Yeah, it was fucking awful. Like that game, my pals look like they're having a seizure half the time, and they're just running around, but they're not doing anything, and they're constantly just dying, clipping through walls. You clip through the floor. But there's nobody complaining about Palworld being a bad game because there's 2 million concurrent players right now.
It just dropped.
And so what did?
The concurrent players, like a lot.
What is it at now?
What is it right now? Hold on.
I'm out of curiosity. I'm just curious because a week ago it was 2 million concurrent players on Steam.
Yeah, it dropped quite a bit.
I mean, that's pretty normal. You see that fall off. You saw the same thing with Baldur's Gate. I mean, it's still a fantastic game.
Actually, let me I'll just pop up on Steam.
Can you see it on Steam?
I'm pretty sure you can see the concurrent players. Yeah. Please don't Please don't play the sound. I really don't want to hear the sound. Okay, it's quiet. No. Update history. View website. No. Discussions. Community groups. No. Yeah. Right now. Wait. See graph. That's just all reviews. Unfortunate.
Yeah, we'll have to update that on the next podcast. Then.
Yeah, I'm definitely super curious about it because I just saw an article about it legitimately like maybe 2 days ago or a day ago.
All right.
But feels good about it. I'm glad the game is actually doing what it's supposed to and giving everybody what they really wanted, you know? And jumping off the back of that in regards to indie games, dude, I cannot wait to tear into Ubisoft and quadruple A titles for the next episode, dude. It is gonna be tasty, succulent destruction of giant.
You're gonna see a
man.
vein in my fucking forehead pop out. I cannot describe to you. When I read that, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? And we'll have more information on that because, like, I want to do my research to see if this is just some backdoor article that someone did a news clip and you know, thumbnail, click this button to read this article. But I'm almost 100% certain it's not. It's actual verbiage.
Ubisoft really just be putting their foot in their mouth, man. Their foot, their elbow, sometimes their kneecap, all in their mouth. And I don't understand how they do it because you should have people in charge so you don't have to do things like this and cover your own butt. But here we are.
Yeah, who's in charge of PR? Because they need to be fired.
Most publisher PR need to be fired.
Yeah, but I know. Take their Twitter account away from them.
Like, oh my God, at some point you've got to realize that it isn't working in your benefit to have such a strong focus on trying to rationalize why you're charging a particular amount. Like, so if they were like, oh, all of our games is going to be $100, like when Rockstar was like GTA 6 is going to be $100. Am I mad? No, not at all. You know how many?
There's a shit ton of content.
There's so much content in that game. But if you tell me Skull and Crossbones, a game that in alpha, first beta and second beta is still boring, you can't put your money where your mouth is. There, you're gonna get hit.
Let's not say boring though, because that's the wrong adjective we can use. Because it's not a game for me. I would play it, and it's not. I don't think it'd be a game for you.
Not
and I think
interesting.
You would play it.
For me,
it's not interesting to us.
Yeah,
I think that the graphics and the gameplay, there are other things out there on the market that do it better, but that's not my forte. I wouldn't pay that money for it.
It's not my taste. But also at the same time, I am also always willing to give a game a go. I play bad games all of the time, and that's okay. You know.
Yeah.
Just so I can have my own whoa. Bethesda.
That's for next episode.
All right. So thank you guys again for hanging out with us one more time.
Yeah.
We'll be back on February 25th to record our first full episode of the revitalized.
Is that 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks. Next Sunday in 2 weeks.
Cool.
We'll have our first full episode on quadruple A titles and some publisher focus depending on what's going on in the world of gaming.
And we'll post some updates on Twitter and we haven't uploaded but one episode on YouTube, so we'll get more on that, but I'll be posting on social media for the upcoming weeks and when me and Jay get some more information on what we're going to be doing.
And I'm super excited to get back into the mix for this.
Yeah, I had a fantastic time today. I mean, like, it just feels natural. It's like we're just talking, and that's what we're doing. But I think it's a sense of education to some people that don't know, and I'm really I enjoy the hell out of it. So I'm super stoked. I'm super excited. I know you can't tell because I have this really monotone voice.
Let's
I'm just
go.
like sitting here, like just casually, just sitting here like a dead body. But it's fine. It's because Jay decided to kill me last night with drinking, so I'm still recovering because my old ass doesn't recover very well from alcohol.
Look, I'm still sweating liquor right now. Okay, not we made it. Kind of. We died a lot. I don't remember the last game. I don't remember the last 30 minutes of trying to go through that fireplace. But we'll figure it out next time.
Yeah, we'll circle back to that.
And with that, dudes, I want to say thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Moon Peak Podcast. Almost fucked up.
I saw you said, I was like, nope. You're riding the deer on this one.
But we got it. I caught it. We're good. So thank you guys again for kicking it with the gang. Your friendly neighborhood Jay Sue, and also
Alt.
I'm gonna stack some extra words on the front of Alt. I got you. I don't know what I'm gonna use yet, but I'm gonna do something on the front of that. You know what?
Yeah,
We're gonna get a jingle. Get a nice little jingle in the background here, like. So you gotta have a jingle. But thank you guys again. We will see you guys in 2 weeks. Thanks for spending time with us on the Moon Peak Podcast. And we'll see you guys on the next peak. See ya.
Bye.